Good morning, good day, everybody. Ooh, there's an echo. Happy to see you all today, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to be talking a little bit with NADEC and talking a little bit about boosting exporters' international online presence. So we know you're all busy. We know you're all running your companies. So we're really grateful that you could join us today and attend and spend a bit of time talking about these subjects. We're keen to get your questions and feedback as well. So put anything that you'd like us to address into the chat box, which is there ready open for you. You can put in comments and questions. We'll address those as well. Let's do some brief introductions while the last of you are just logging on. Starting with myself, so I'm speaking. My name is Susanna Hardy, and I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. IBT Online is a digital marketing company. So that means, what does that mean? It means basically that we create websites, we do e-commerce, and we do digital marketing. And we're known especially for our focus on mid-cap companies and on exporting companies, companies that like to export. So we're very proud to have won sort of E-Star Awards and things like that for our help for America's exporters. So that's from our perspective. We're looking at things today from the online perspective of a digital marketing company. And I'm super pleased to be here with Anne. Anne Burkett is the chair of NADEC, the National Association of District Export Councils. And she's going to talk a little bit about how her members are seeing things today, and you know, NADEC represents and supports U.S. exporters nationwide, and so she's going to give us the point of view of that. And then Tom Dustman is the international sales director at Sunnen Products, and Tom has a sort of has an amazing viewpoint, I think, because Sunnen Products is not just it's a very well established company, but it's been it exports worldwide. But I don't know how many subsidiaries you overmanage and oversee, so you really have a bird's eye view of all that's happening in a wide group. And so Tom's going to give us the point of view from a user, from an exporter, what it's like, what does he do with his websites, how does it look, how has it changed over time, and so on. So I'm really excited to be here with both Anne and Tom in that sense. And maybe we can start with you, Anne, and just say, start with NADEC. Tell us a little bit about NADEC, and share a little bit about what you're hearing from your members today about some of their big concerns and things. And
Well, thank you, Susanna. I'm delighted to be here today. NADEC, it stands for the National Association of District Export Councils, and we're a national organization that supports 62 local district export councils across the United States. So you think 62? Some states that are very large have more than one district export council, but we work with them in conjunction with them to help exporters across the U.S. Become more successful. Some of the things you asked me about were some of the challenges that they've had growing their global reach. Well, we're certainly in a changing world today, and e-commerce is more prevalent than ever, and so having the right presence out there is really important for our exporters so that they can be found. And we have, we have the wonderful products and services here in the U.S., but we want our companies to be able to be found and be recognized across the world as leading brands. And so we're just really glad to be here to hear more about how you can help our companies with brand awareness internationally.
thank you. And Tom, maybe from your experience, how do you find a company's online presence? What are you finding from Sunnen Products? How is it essential? What are you seeing there
Sure.
and identifying your brand internationally?
Yeah. Thank you, Susanna. And again, it's my pleasure to be joining this live stream. And as a little bit of background, Sunnen is a company based in St. Louis, Missouri, and we've been exporting for more than 80 years. And we just celebrated our 100th anniversary last year, and we were the recipient of the E-Star Award in 2024, and we have 14 subsidiaries around the world. In addition, we have around 30 independent distributors. And so, from my position here at Sunnen, it's much like herding cats, all in the direction of growing revenue and growing our EBITDA as well. And so, from my perspective, uh, in years gone by, an online presence was probably a nice to have,
Mm.
but in today's world, it's an essential aspect of doing business. And from our standpoint, uh, we are a niche business, and in that niche, we are a global leader. But again, we are finding that brand awareness in certain countries where perhaps a growing economy is just at the infancy, and even in an established country where the industrial market is very well positioned and mature, having that online presence really opens up the opportunities for exporting to us. And so, uh, from our company perspective, around 40 to 45% of our annual turnover is through exporting.
Wow.
And based upon our successes, we have found that utilizing an online presence, a digital presence, working with LinkedIn has been
Mhm.
extremely valuable to us. Very, very valuable.
Mhm. And I was going to sort of say from IBT Online's point of view, I'm going to echo that, Tom, as well. Just saying, it used to be a nice to have is definitely a must have today. Google
Yeah,
reckons that you have less than 2 seconds from when someone
sure.
comes on your website to forming the opinion of whether they'll pursue and stay on your website.
That's exactly right. And with our headquarters here in Missouri, uh, as I mentioned, we serve markets around the world. And we've built this network of corporate locations, independent distributors, really working with our website and the digital platforms that really I think are key to connecting us to those markets. Um, our website, as you could imagine, is our digital storefront. And there, not only do we speak about our products, but also our processes that may be new to some markets. And it allows us really to showcase the products, and most importantly, it allows us to have our value message out to the marketplace. We find that it plays a very important role for us in generating leads, certainly educating customers, and really driving our international business, which is obviously a key component of our overall success. And so, on a daily basis, Sunnen receives inquiries from our website. Some of these are just very transactional. I need this widget, and when can I have it delivered, and what's your price? But others represent huge capital expenditures for us, and our price points for a customized engineered solution in the machine tool business could be upwards of $1.5 million. So we really value those opportunities when they come in through the website. And as I mentioned, our sales are very technical, and we have to exhibit to our prospects and to our customers our expertise, not only to our products or related to our products, but to the processes. Because as any industry, we have competitors, and we've got to be able to have our value statement resonate with those companies. And so, from my viewpoint, an online presence is an essential part of any business, especially one that's a niche business like ours. So, Susanna, I have a question for you. Uh, from IBT Online's perspective, how do you see the digital presence shaping brand awareness for other exporters?
Yeah, really, thank you very much, Tom. It's just that's one of the kernel, the key questions, really. The whole brand awareness side that you mentioned there, as well in your mention of Sunnen products, is so essential in today's world. It really is what we call a digital first world. So, especially, I always think your website's more important for your exporters and for your international than for your domestic market. your domestic market, most of the time your clients already know you.
Yes.
They already formed. I see
Yeah.
Tom nodding his head. Your domestic market, your clients know you. You have a brand presence. You've established your brand, but especially, not all of us are privileged enough to have a 100-year-old company with that kind of brand authority. But you know, if you're going into a new market, how do people form a view of you? They go online, they check you out, they check out your website, and that's going to form their opinion of you. And that's why it's so crucial to have a website that is working hard for you and that is reflecting of your brand qualities. And that's so important for your international side as well, for that credibility and the trust you need to build to get that buyer to journey along to that buyer conclusion and actually become a client. So, your online presence, what does it do? It builds trust. It showcases your
Right.
ability. It connects you with the world. It connects you with clients at any time in the way and the time and the space that they want. Because clients and prospects these days, they want to be contacted when it suits them, not when it suits you. So that's what your digital presence can also tell. And I think what actually one of the things that excites me the most, and hopefully also you as well, and with your members, is that your digital presence allows smaller companies to punch above their weight.
Right.
It allows you to really, if with the right ingredients, the right work, you can be on the first page of any, right up there at the top, and that's
Hmm.
so powerful for so
It really
enabling.
gives equal footing to
Yeah,
many companies. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, for us, when we're looking at this, would say, you obviously you start with your website. That's the core. That's your home, as it were. That's your digital real estate that you have to build on. You start with the
Hmm.
website. Make sure it's user friendly, that it's easy to navigate, that it's fast, that it's secure. Make sure it's SSL certificates. Then after that, you invest in some SEO. You invest to beef it out, to make sure that you're hitting the right spots. And then you have to, in these days, you have to have some online marketing, some digital marketing. Otherwise, it's just too competitive a space. The online world is too competitive to allow your website to only grow organically. It's going to take too long. So definitely, and Tom mentioned LinkedIn. That's probably the foremost platform for B2B companies. But different markets will want different platforms. So there you go. And Anne, I wanted to ask you as well.
Yeah.
How are things there for your members?
Oh,
Any?
and well, I'm in Alabama, if you're
Mm.
referring to that, and we are very much involved in helping our companies look at market opportunities overseas through training and education. I actually run a nonprofit organization called the North Alabama International Trade Association. So between my work with NATA and NADEC, we have some wonderful programs out there to offer exporters. But I really think it's critical that they understand how to get into the different markets, and each market is different, and so you've got to have a different strategy, and that's you know both for social media as well as for your website. So I think especially social media, that's the way you can get out there fairly quickly. So it's a very powerful tool. Um, Sometimes exporters do struggle on which platforms to use.
Yeah.
And I know that Sunnen uses LinkedIn quite a bit for their international and their branding. But what are some other platforms that companies should consider, or how does it fall out? I mean, what platforms do well in different regions of the world?
Tom, perhaps you want to answer first for Sunan?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And again, Ann, I think you bring up a very valid point. In China, LinkedIn maybe isn't as popular, but WeChat certainly is, and we have Shanghai Sunnen Mechanical Company based in um, Shanghai, and that entity, a wholly owned foreign entity, we are serving the Chinese market, and so our team there works with WeChat. I've got a sales meeting going on here in St. Louis right now, and we have our managing director for Sun and Do Brazil with us, and he uses WhatsApp. and he communicates not only effectively within Brazil, but also the neighboring countries such as Argentina and Chile.
Mhm.
So we find those various social media platforms to be very, very helpful to us. And again, as Susanna has pointed out, for established industrial markets, we certainly have a well-known name. But in some other countries, uh, what we find now is with the new generation of people in procurement, their first search is online.
Yeah.
And that makes it so valuable to have an online presence, not only in English, but with the ability to have a language choice. It makes it so much user friendly.
Mhm.
And, and I would say that for us, LinkedIn is critical in our overall business strategy. Um, Not only does it boost the awareness of our brand, but it's comparative. People can look at what Sunnen offers compared to our other competitors, and we believe that with a well-constructed website, that we gain advantages in the marketplace.
I think you
We
have to be there.
often,
Yeah, you definitely have to be online to be successful
yeah,
globally. And
that's right.
and Tom and Susanna, we have a question from our audience. So I'm going to read the question. What can you recommend in terms of branding and building trust for e-commerce wholesale businesses? Also, how to create a good leads funnel for that kind of business?
Sure, I think those are two excellent questions, and Sunnen is working right now with Shopify, and we feel that as an e-commerce platform, it's very broad, and would allow not only B2B, but certainly in a wholesaling environment. I think again you would be looking at some value from perhaps Shopify. And I think how to create good leads, you've really got to provide thought leadership and make the message to the customer. If you're running into this problem, you need to consider Sunnen as your partner. And I think those are key words of partnering,
Mhm.
collaboration,
Yeah.
thought leadership. And depending upon who you attract to your online site, you may be dealing with someone from the C suite of an organization. And there, maybe a key driver is business risk. How do they minimize their business risk? Or you may get somebody at the operational level who just needs a process or a technical problem solved. But the key point for us is to provide thought leadership, to provide it in the local language for easy access, and we see that utilizing LinkedIn, not only are we posting information, but our subsidiaries are reposting. Some of our sales engineers are reposting, and those are the switched on sales engineers who realize the value. And again, it just accentuates and emphasizes our brand awareness. And I think through LinkedIn, there is such a broad audience, as I mentioned. You could be an operational individual all the way up to the C suite. And uh, for us, it's developing not only what we offer at a transactional level, but the thought leadership of if you have a pain point, let us come in and help you solve that pain and remove it.
Yeah. I I would add one or two little things, if I may, in terms of platforms. Shopify is excellent for certain needs on e-commerce, but do look around. For example, if WooCommerce might be better. The problem is once you start with one platform, it's really hard to then switch. So it's
Exactly.
really worth taking the time to make sure that you're choosing the right platform and spend a bit of time with your tech team, your stack, and figure out what it is you need to achieve with that e-commerce. What are the plugins necessary? Who's going to look after it? All that, and then to make the decision, because like I said, once you head down a route, it's really hard to then change tracks for that. But your question really is about brand and trust, especially for e-commerce. I would very much agree and concur with Tom. Building brand means also thought leadership and means also having a technically faultless execution on your website. If there's something wrong, if it's not compliant, if there's a lacking of security,
No,
your prospect leaves very quickly,
right.
and you've burnt them basically. So it's really worth making sure that you've got all your ducks lined up and smooth and properly done before you launch on e-commerce. I would also suggest, right?
Well, thank you, Susanna. And I know that you have worked with a lot of companies across the U.S. and around the world on putting together these websites. And so, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen when going online, and how do companies overcome those challenges, like you were just talking about with the e-commerce? I mean, what are some of the other challenges?
I mean, if I could group them into sort of two big buckets, I'd say there's two things that I would emphasize that we see consistently, and particularly for mid cap companies. The first is that they spread themselves too thin. They don't focus enough. Many exporters try to tackle too many markets at once, and such. And that we think is, especially if you're reaching out and expanding your digital presence, that can be, you can easily underestimate the amount of work. And if someone is very, very busy developing sales, you're adding another layer onto their existing workload. That's where mistakes happen. So our advice is focus. Don't spread yourself too thin. Focus on your low hanging fruit first, and expand once you've managed all that, and once you've got the experience for that. And I guess the other thing that we see frequently, which then poses a challenge, is not taking the online marketing, the digital marketing seriously enough. Just putting out a website, and then just getting so involved in day to day that you forget about promoting your website, promoting your products, promoting that thought leadership, and not engaging enough with the online marketing. So a lot of small companies will rely on their in-market partners for their marketing, and that almost always, oh, it's exaggeration, but very often doesn't really work out long term, because the in-market partner, that might not be their forte.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be what they do best. They're probably really good at logistics, paperwork, after sales, installation, but are they good at marketing? Do they know? Yeah. And the other thing, talking about brand, you're giving them your brand, and that is where you can get real problems as well. So, make sure your distributors, your in-market partners, are doing what they do best. You contain and maintain control of your brand internationally. Don't lose control of your brand. I don't know, Tom, what do you think about this?
Susanna, I think from Sunnen's perspective, our biggest challenge is consistency,
Oh,
and so what I mean by that is that choosing an online presence, it has to be constantly refreshed. It's been my experience that if you have a website that hasn't been attended to,
uh,
what it took yesterday to get you somewhere is never enough to keep you there. And you'll lose a prospect by just saying something in a response of, hey, I saw this on your website. And if you have to come back and say, well, sorry, that's not been updated, immediately all the momentum in sales pursuit goes away.
mm,
And from our perspective, given our global sales channel, we have individual local websites that all link back to our master here in St. Louis. And so that helps us to ensure that the proper image is there. But I can share with you from practical experience that independent distributors typically want to make the one largest dollar value sale that would allow them to take several months off for vacation. And as a result, if you have markets that span from small maintenance and repair operations, small enterprises, sole proprietors perhaps, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies. You absolutely must make sure that
Oh, I think we have a frozen speaker.
Frozen.
brand
Oh,
image
here we go. Yeah.
into
Hmm.
play, and it's that unified message across multiple global regions that would allow us to have the specific needs met. And it absolutely requires constant attention and effort. And I think it goes back to your point of maintaining some focus and realizing that just assigning this to somebody who's a techie isn't going to get the job done. You have to have cross functional support throughout your organization.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
So,
again, I think linking those individual websites back to Sunnen headquarters has really been quite beneficial for Sunnen.
hmm.
And again, we are a very technical sale, which means that even when a customer comes to us and says, "I looked at your website and I see you offer up machine model ABC," we can't always assume that that's a well-informed customer. So we always roll back to the basics of let's do a little bit of a needs analysis, and we do that through the interactive efforts of our online presence. So again, we find the social media, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook, are all examples of where we really have seen benefit, but we always include a call to action.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's important. Yeah. Susanna, do you have some practical tips you would like to share before we wrap up on how companies can enhance their presence online?
Yes. How long have we got? But to Tom's point, one of the things we're seeing now more and more is the belief that e-commerce is not just also a nice to have, but is increasingly like your new prospective buyer who only wants to be contacted first on the web. They want to have some kind of e-commerce functionality. So what we're seeing a lot of B2B companies, even very techie ones, do is they'll do something called build a cart. So there isn't an it's like an e-commerce website because you can filter and you say, I want one of these, I want two of those. So you're building what then ends up is a request a quote. So in a sense, you're building a market or sales qualified lead that you can then hand to your sales force. And that's a very powerful thing. It's similar to what Tom was talking about in this
Yeah.
sort of thing. And that's something a major trend that we're seeing. I guess the one of the major takeaways I would say that we would advise companies to do is almost pretend that your website and your digital presence is a person. Just think of it as another person on the staff. So you have your weekly sales meeting, and someone says, "Oh, there's a trade show we're going to in March." The next statement is, what effect does that have on our social media, digital marketing, and our website? Okay, because so bring them right into the sales and marketing, this marketing meetings. We have a new product launch. What do we do then on LinkedIn? What do we do for our website? How are we going to announce this to the world? How are we going to benefit from this? So each action and each major sales, your weekly sales meeting, think about what that does for your website, for your digital marketing side, and how you can amplify that and reach out to your audience and to your local buyer personas as well. So that's sort of like an overall tip. The
Yeah.
next thing I'd say is just make sure that you're focused and that your digital assets are working hard for you. Sort of don't be content with something that is put together that is not well functioning, that is a bit sloppy. Don't be content with that. Your sales and marketing should bring you good ROI that you can track, that should bring you good leads. Tom was talking about, the number of leads they get in Sunnen products. companies can get this from their websites and their digital marketing, and they should expect that. They should expect good results from it. Yeah.
And Anne and Susanna, I'd like to make some of my own recommendations here.
Yes.
And I've spoken throughout the chat here about the consistent brand image across all digital platforms, and we've even incorporated uh, 100 faces of Sunnen Products Company, so that it's not just, let's say, me as the pitch man. We involve others within the organization, which helps not only to build the cultural meaningfulness within Sunnen, but it exhibits to our prospects and our customers who visit our website that Sunnen is a company of substance, and it's not just a one-man band, so to speak. So again, I think involving others and making sure that you've got that consistent brand image across all various cultures and countries is very, very important. I'd also add that as I mentioned, the updating the website with always current content, fresh content, is very important as well. And I work very closely with our VP of marketing here to ensure that we talk about something that's fresh, something that's new, something that just happened that would be really be beneficial to the marketplace. And I would also say that, certainly LinkedIn and WhatsApp and others that are really relevant um, for our channels, we find that it really allows us to develop and foster direct engagement with our clients.
Yeah.
And we capture the persona. We know if we're speaking to somebody who is uh, an industrial engineer, or if we're dealing with the CFO at an organization, or maybe the president of a company. That helps us to ensure that capturing the right information, we know exactly how we need to form our value message when we make contact. So those are three key recommendations that I would make.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Susanna.
Right.
This is I've really enjoyed this conversation today, and again, thank you for including the National Association of District Export Councils on our program today. Just one, I got to put a little promo in.
Please.
Our annual conference is May 19th and 20th in Washington, D.C., and more information is on the NADEC website. So we would love to have you come and join us for our conference on Navigating New Horizons, Strategies for Export Success in a Changing World. And Susanna, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, there you go. There's proof. Where do you find the information? You find it on the website, and I'm sure that NADEC will be publishing this in social
Right.
media as well. So please also follow NADEC if you're not already,
Thank you.
and check out those dates. I'm sure it's a really, really worthwhile and wonderful conference and a valuable asset for the district export councils. We just sort of rounding up a little bit, for that. But just a couple of things I think that's worth highlighting, particularly some of the things that Tom noted, that your website can bring you leads and that you can actually, use it to bring business. And one of the keys that he said was to respect that local buyer persona. In what way is that buyer persona correct? And they're on the platform they want to be on. So he was mentioning, in China, you're using WeChat. In Latin America, it's WhatsApp. So you have to be on the platform that your buyer persona wants
Right.
to be on and to spread out in that sense. We also talked a bit about investing in SEO and social media. They're very cost effective ways to get international traffic and engagement onto your website and to spread out. And then I think we wanted also to mention about your brand awareness, your brand trust, your brand security, your brand growth and awareness, about the importance of becoming a thought leader so that people will come to your website not just to check you out, but also to say, hey, how do I get this? You're my problem solver. And that is a very, very strong attribute for any company that really allows you to guard against price erosion, if nothing else. That
Right.
thought leadership side. Okay. Right. I want to thank Anne and Tom very much for their insights and their practical advice. It's clear that a digital presence is really a game changer for a lot of exporters. To our audience, thank you all so much for attending today, and we hope we brought some answer questions. If there are more questions, come out and leave them in the question box, and we can answer them at a later stage as well. And please don't forget to like, share, and spread the word any further. Thank you all so much. Until next time, take care and happy exporting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Tom. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.